He searched the mountains for 4 long years. And when he finally found his wife's frozen body 8,000 meters above the ground, he also uncovered the truth about her death. A family of rock climbers, a father, daughter, and son, are scaling a steep cliff face when a bag suddenly flies past them. It turns out that a group of rookie climbers above them has fallen, and their descent pulls the Garrett family down with them. Now, 5 people are left dangling from a single rope. The inexperienced climbers panic, causing only one belay point to remain secured in the rock, and they eventually fall into the abyss. Annie struggles to reach the rock face to place another anchor, but the hook holding them begins to loosen. Realizing the danger, their father orders Peter to cut the rope or the entire family will die.
Cut the rope! Cut the rope!
Annie desperately begs her brother not to do it, but Peter makes the impossible choice, and their father's body plummets into the void below. 3 years have passed. Since that tragic day, Peter has given up mountaineering. Now he only climbs to photograph wildlife. He works in the Lesser Himalayas, where one day his assistant slips down a hill and breaks his leg. Peter helps him back to base camp at the foot of K2. Billionaire Elliot Vaughn has gathered a team of 40 people there to conquer the peak.
Elliot Vaughn, the entrepreneur. He's brought about 40 people in with him. He's taken a crack at K2.
A nearby Pakistani army outpost constantly exchanges fire with Indian troops. Peter's sister, Annie, joins Vaughn's expedition. Unlike Peter, she has become a famous climber and is taking on this dangerous mission with determination.
Dad would be proud.
At the camp, a well-known entrepreneur arrives, followed by a full media team documenting his attempt. The expedition draws the attention of many seasoned climbers.
There's my leading lady. Hi, Annie.
How was your trip?
Skip Taylor tells Peter that the entire thing is really just a publicity stunt to promote Vaughn's new airline. Vaughn even paid professional climber Tom McLaren $1 million to guide him to the summit.
Well, Vaughn's got this publicity stunt. He's launching a new airline.
Monique, a skilled medic and manager, immediately catches Peter's attention.
This is Monique, our base camp manager and medic. Monique, Peter. Hey.
That evening, the group throws a wild celebration. It's revealed that Vaughn had attempted to climb K2 4 years earlier, but the expedition ended in disaster.
That attempt ended in tragedy.
The party is suddenly interrupted by the arrival of Montgomery Monty Merriweather, one of the world's best climbers.
The weather closes in and people die up there.
He warns everyone that the weather is turning bad and that Tom McLaren has taken on too much responsibility. Meanwhile, an older climber has been wandering the mountain slopes for years, searching for the body of his deceased wife. Anne believes her brother made the wrong decision 3 years ago. She thinks they could have saved their father, and now she's climbing K2 in his memory.
I want to be the person he always wanted me to be.
At dawn, the climbers left camp by helicopter. Kareem said goodbye to his brother, the guide. Peter noticed the wind was starting to pick up, but the wealthy man trusted the computer, which predicted an 82% chance of excellent weather.
Thanks for, everything.
However, McLaren detected signs of an approaching storm and insisted they turn back.
There's a 70% chance it's going to turn east and miss us.
That's right.
The billionaire disagreed, suggesting they could reach a certain point and wait out the storm there. Anne sided with Vaughn and convinced the others to continue the dangerous ascent.
Let's go.
Peter saw satellite photos and raised the alarm. A massive storm was approaching.
Major storm coming in from the south. You've got to start down.
And they needed to descend immediately. McLaren agreed, but the rich man played on his pride, saying the storm would pass and that McLaren would regret turning back for the rest of his life.
I'd say that should do wonders for your business.
He urged him not to miss the chance to become world famous. The team pressed on, but soon the wind grew stronger. McLaren finally decided to turn back, but by then, it was already too late.
We're going back! We are dead on the rig, so let's go!
A violent storm engulfed the careless climbers. Breathing became nearly impossible, and visibility dropped to 0. Suddenly, Anne fell through the snow and plunged into a cave, saved only by the rope that connected her to the others. The rest weren't so lucky. The massive avalanche swept down the mountain, burying the entire team. Only Elliot Vaughn and Tom McLaren managed to survive. McLaren suffered a brutal fall and injured his spine. Vaughn tried to contact base camp, but the signal barely penetrated the thick snow. Meanwhile, Peter came up with the idea of sending Morse code signals.
It's Morse code.
Something their father had taught them as kids. Anne replied, confirming they were alive, but warned that reaching them would be extremely difficult.
There's 3 of them.
No one was in a hurry to start a rescue mission. Survival at that altitude was almost impossible.
We got more than enough guys here to get this done.
Skip told Peter that the victims had a maximum of 36 hours before pulmonary edema set in. Only one man, Mongo Merovic, had ever climbed K2 in under 24 hours.
We don't even know their exact location. How long is that going to take?
And they didn't even know the victim's exact location. Peter asked the Pakistani soldiers for explosives, and they agreed to share their nitroglycerin.
It's low freezing and more powerful than Semtex.
However, it was stored in poorly secured tanks. Some of the explosive liquid spilled onto Skip's boots, effectively turning him into a walking bomb. That evening, Peter tried to assemble a team of skilled climbers willing to attempt a high-speed ascent of K2 with the nitroglycerin, but everyone understood how dangerous the mission was.
Look, Skip here's agreed to go, so I need 4 more.
Aside from Skip, only Kareem volunteered. He still hoped his cousin might be alive. Unexpectedly, the 2 Rastaman brothers also agreed to risk their lives and join the rescue.
What's bloody wrong with you?
We're in.
Meanwhile, the survivors were rationing their water. As long as they had some, they could avoid pulmonary edema. Once their supplies ran out, they planned to melt ice using a small stove, and after that, rely on syringes filled with dexamethasone to keep themselves alive.
Edema sets in if we don't keep drinking.
Peter and Skip calculated that it would take about 5 hours to reach the survivors. But for that, they needed Mongo Merovic.
He's the only man who's ever done it faster.
You think he'll do it?
He was the only one who knew how to ascend the mountain faster than anyone else. The final member of the team was Monique, who agreed to join because Vaughn's representative had offered $500,000 to everyone involved in the rescue operation. And she was desperate for money. The team's first task was to find Mongo. At first, he refused to help, but when he learned that one of the survivors was billionaire Elliot Vaughn, he changed his mind.
On a rescue mission, we don't vote, we don't question, we don't argue. You listen and do exactly as I say.
For some reason, the old man insisted that Skip stay behind at camp, claiming he didn't trust him. The rest of the rescue team was divided into pairs. Monique was partnered with Hamlo Cyril. Each pair would take a different route toward the avalanche site. A helicopter lifted them as high as possible and hovered over the deep abyss below. Without any safety equipment, Monique jumped onto the rocky ledge and helped the other climbers down as well. Suddenly, their gear began to fail. Peter and Vic were moments away from falling, and Monique was nearly struck by a helicopter propeller. Montgomery managed to save Peter just in time, throwing him safely onto the ledge. Meanwhile, the billionaire cast a cold, almost mocking look at McLaren, whose condition was deteriorating rapidly, and wanted to inject him with dexamethasone, but the rich man refused, insisting it would be a waste.
You can't waste resources on a lost cause.
Saving somebody's life is not a lost cause.
McLaren, he said, was doomed anyway. He'd die whether they used the medicine or not. The cynical man told McLaren to accept his fate and not drag the others down with him.
If I was in your position...
You're not in my position.
Later, Montgomery, who had been friends with Peter's father, reassured Peter that cutting the rope years ago had been the right choice.
You did the right thing in cutting the rope.
Any climber would have done the same in his situation. As the hours passed, Anne's breathing became more labored. It was time for her dose of dexamethasone. But it seemed the billionaire wanted to keep all the syringes for himself, even though he wasn't showing any symptoms yet. While Cyril waited for Monique to reach him, he carelessly set his backpack down on the snow. It rolled down the slope, and when he tried to grab it, he lost his footing and slid down at high speed. He dug his ice axe into the snow, just in time to stop his fall, leaving him dangling over the abyss.
I'm here!
Monique began inching toward him to help. She tossed a rope toward his ice axe, just as the ice block beneath him gave way and tumbled into the void. Now she had to swing Cyril so he could grab the nearest ledge. He managed to cling to the rock, but the nitroglycerin canister slipped from his pack and plummeted down. The climbers scrambled to escape the impending explosion. Cyril managed to climb back up and threw a rope to Monique, but he relaxed too soon. An avalanche triggered by the blast swept him away. Now Monique had to reach the rope Cyril had dropped. She made a desperate leap toward it, fighting to survive. Meanwhile, deep inside the cave, Anne was struggling to reach a backpack she had spotted on the opposite side. The supplies inside could buy them a little more time to stay alive. Risking her life, Anne managed to retrieve the backpack, but she began coughing violently as the fragile ice bridge beneath her started to collapse. At that moment, an explosion erupted nearby, nearly killing her. Inside the backpack, she found precious supplies, extra water, and 4 syringes of dexamethasone. Finally, she was able to inject the life-saving medicine into Seba and McLaren. Meanwhile, Monique survived, but dislocated her finger in the process. To reset it, Peter tried to distract her with casual conversation.
How long have you been sleeping with him?
2 years and screw you.
Malcolm tried not to think about his brother's death, but the grief overwhelmed him. He fell to his knees and broke down crying. Karim suggested that Malcolm return to camp while he continued on alone. But Malcolm refused to give up. Gathering his courage, he stood back up and pushed forward. Back at camp, the Pakistani team had mistakenly left the nitroglycerin tanks in direct sunlight. Causing a massive explosion. Apparently, no one understood just how unstable the liquid was. The climbers were told to immediately move the tanks into the shade. But there was no communication with Malcolm and Karim. Realizing the danger, Peter moved closer to their position to warn them. The climbers quickly covered the tanks with snow and tried to rest, but the nitroglycerin began leaking again, reacting to the sunlight. Moments later, it detonated, blowing the team to pieces and burying Peter's group under an avalanche of snow. After the explosion, the frozen body of a woman emerged from the ice. It was Montgomery's wife, whom he had been searching for unsuccessfully for 4 years. Around her neck hung her wedding ring, and beside her lay an empty syringe case. She had been part of Elliot Vaughn's expedition 4 years earlier and had died without receiving any dexamethasone.
I figure she died of edema. Wouldn't have happened if she'd had Dex with her.
The truth became clear. The billionaire had taken all the medication for himself back then, dooming the others. The revelation enraged Montgomery. He had agreed to join Peter's expedition for one reason: to finally confront and kill Vaughn.
You think you can stop me? Go ahead.
That evening, Anne managed to contact Peter by radio. She told him to turn back, saying she could hold out for only 2 more hours and that rescuers would never reach her in time.
I'm not gonna be here, neither will Tom.
But Peter refused to lose another loved one to the mountain.
Do that.
I don't care.
Don't put me through it, you understand?
Coughing violently, he injected himself with dexamethasone to stay conscious. Then, in a chilling act of revenge, he filled the syringe with air and plunged it into McLaren, killing him within a minute. By dawn, Vic realized Peter was gone. He understood that Peter had set out alone during the night to finish what he had started. Annie noticed the dead climber and found an empty syringe nearby. At that moment, she understood everything. Furious, she attacked the scoundrel, but he easily threw her aside. Then he noticed part of the snow had collapsed, and light was shining through from above. Peter reached the edge of the cliff, realizing the only way forward was down. The climber picked up speed and leaped, managing to secure himself with 2 ice axes and latch onto another rock. Meanwhile, Vaughn figured out a way to mark their location. He cut open the dead McLaren's body with a knife and filled a bag with his blood. Together with Annie, he brought the bag upward, and once it emerged from the snow, they detonated it using a signal flare. Blood splattered across the entire area. With the last of their strength, Peter and Monique reached the summit and spotted the bloody signal. They threw down a whistle and announced that an explosion was about to take place. Peter drained Irene's nitroglycerin and detonated it with explosives, finally clearing the path to the victims. Vaughn was the first to tie Annie to the rope. They began pulling her up, but the snow started to collapse again, sending her back down. Her footing gave way completely, but Montgomery Vick managed to catch her just in time. The old man climbed down into the billionaire's cave, quickly realizing the truth. He tried to fight back with an ice axe, but Vick easily disarmed him. The old man didn't kill Vaughn. He descended further to help the injured Annie. But at one point, her feet struck a block of snow, causing her to fall and bring down the ledge where the climbers were standing. They all ended up hanging by a single rope. Vick didn't have to ask Peter for anything. He already had his knife.
No! No! No!
No matter how much the rich man begged, the old man cut the rope without hesitation, sending both himself and his enemy plunging into the abyss. Out of both groups, only Monique, Peter, and Annie survived. Their father would have been proud, heartbroken but proud.
Talk about a will to live.
If this intense climb had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button so more people can see it, and subscribe to support our journey of thrilling movie recaps.